review turning the jaw dies on a Lenox TLH 2500 welder. So one of the questions that a lot of people ask is, when is it time to turn the jaw dies? On your machine with a fresh set of jaw dies, your work edge is sharp and crisp, as are your corners. This is necessary to get the appropriate bite on the material so that you don't get slippage during the welding cycle. Should at some time your jaw dies wear and you start to lose that edge, this would be a good indicator that it's an appropriate time to turn them before you incur any slippage. Should you have a mishap and do damage to the jaw die, it's absolutely necessary to turn the jaw dies. So now we're just going to go through the procedure of how we do this appropriately. So first and foremost, we're going to take and make sure that the machine is in a safe working condition electrically. This is done by shutting off the no weld on your Entron controller, or if you have a CSA, toggle down the switch to a no weld. Very important. Secondly, to do this process, we're going to have to remove our jaw blocks. So because of this, we're going to want to take our back edge clamp force and our tooth edge clamp force, and we're going to turn both of these down to 0. This is necessary to prevent damage from occurring, because you're going to have to put the machine in a clamp position to cycle it dry, and we don't want our slave cylinders lifting and doing damage. So with both of these at 0, validate that we're in our no weld position. We're going to go ahead and safely remove our lower jaw blocks from the machine. You can see we have some wear. These aren't horribly bad, but I am starting to see some wear or loss in the corner, the crispness of the corner. So it'll be an appropriate time to turn these to make sure that we get a quality weld. So one of the first things we need to do is wipe the debris, the excess grease, off of the areas of the jaw dies to be changed out and off the face of the platens. Now we're going to loosen and then remove the jaw die. Place this here. I'm going to take a clean rag and wipe the mounting surface that the jaws are going to go on, to ensure I don't have any debris close by that would be captured when I put the jaws back on there. So you can see this used edge, the pitting that's going on. This is not horrible, but we're going to turn it 180 degrees to a fresh surface on the opposite side. So again, I want to wipe this clean, making sure I have no debris. I'm going to take a sharpening stone and lightly stone the surface to make sure I don't have any debris. Nice and clean. Take a look at which side is my good working edge. This is now going to be my new surface. Just going to lightly tighten these down, finger tight. And I'm going to repeat the same process for the opposite side. Want to make sure you keep the stone nice and flat. Nice and clean. Verify this is my old edge, this is my new working edge. Now I'm going to take my new working edge, put it to this side. So one thing I would like to show you here is the screw holes that mount the jaw dies on have a small amount of movement. You can see that right here. We don't want this to be in just any position. We want to make sure both of these jaw dies are fully to the back side before we tighten them down. So with these screws just lightly snugged, I'm going to take our scraper. This is the 62,000 thick scraper. I'm going to put it between the jaw dies, as we have here, and I'm just going to hold pressure onto it. And at this point, I can now advance my machine and again validate that I'm in the no weld position and verify that I'm at my zero. I can now safely clamp the jaws and know that my slave cylinders aren't going to rise. So I'm going to clamp them and my slave cylinders stay down. This is a very important feature. If you have pressure here and you raise these slave cylinders without the jaws in there, you'll damage all your slave cylinders. So you want to make sure your blade back and blade teeth are at zero. So at this point, knowing that I'm in the no weld, I'm clamped, I can now cycle my weld and allow the machine to dry cycle onto that bar. And now you'll see that I've captured that bar in between the jaws. This has, in effect, pushed the jaws all the way out so that they're properly seated. Now I can take and secure this position with the screws. And now I can hold on to this, my neutral, and retract. And now I know that both of these jaws are in the appropriate location and that all the play has been taken out of them. So next we're going to do the lower jaw blocks. It'll be done in the exact same fashion in a sense of turning our jaws. So I'll take my first one. Clean my surface here. I'm going to turn this over. Remove my two screws. Wipe my surface. And as I did with the others, I'm just going to run a stone over that surface. Now I'm going to take my jaw die, wipe it free of any debris. Take my stone, go over the surface, make sure there's no high spots. Take a look at which side is the used side. We're going to go to the opposite side. So I have a new working edge. Push that in. Snug that up. Now before I do anything with this one, I'm going to do the opposite jaw block just like I did this. Again, find that crisp surface. Make sure that's my new mounting surface. So I'm just going to lightly snug these, just like we did with our tops. I'm going to make these a little more snug. So unlike the upper jaw dies, I can't put these in the machine and dry cycle it. So I have to try to drive that movement in the jaw blocks and that holes out with the use of a non-marring hammer. This could be plastic or brass. I prefer the brass, it carries a little more weight. Putting the block onto a non-marring surface, I can now take and drive that jaw block straight back to get it properly seated. Make sure it's snug. And now if I take this block, put it back into the machine, and then raise my handle, I can see if I'm parallel or out of parallel. This side is out slightly. You can see that by the light witness mark down here. So I'm just going to take this out and preferentially hit on this one side. Put it back in. And now we've balanced our jaw. We'll repeat that same process for the opposite side, and then we can secure this. It's okay to get these a little tighter because of the fact that this is an impact type of adjustment. It'll overcome a small amount of resistance. Put this back in. Going to raise this side, and then with my finger I can see that we're nice and parallel. So we got this one in one shot. So now I can take and recapture my block in the appropriate spot. And at this moment, I'm going to take and reapply my pressure onto my machine. This is dictated by the width of the product you're going to do. The tooth side, for the most part, is 80 pounds all the time, so you can run this right up to the 80. And now I can reapply my grease. I'm going to reclamp. Now you can see that our clamps came up. I can take our vacuum grease, make sure my brush is clean. I'm going to apply a small amount of vacuum grease to the working surface on the jaw dies and the plate, anywhere as I don't want this flash to stick. And now that's done, I can put this back in my weld position so that I have power. And now we're ready to set the machine up for whatever material you're going to be welding with a fresh set of jaws in the working area on your machine.